Rumours continue to swirl, ladies and gentlemen. The fate of GW may well be decided in the coming months. Hyperbolic? Nonsensical? Perhaps. Perhaps not. Time will tell. But mark my words, subversion is afoot. Just look at all the comments on my last video. Incel? Oh no, women?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
The activists and allies are in full advance, and GW continue to double down on the change by quietly changing all of their existing online lore to remove any reference of him, he, or his. Ironically, 10th edition launched with the attack of Hive Fleet Leviathan, and the online discourse between fans and the Genestealer cults continues. Watch out for the Screamer Killers in the access and mainstream media, folks. Since the ridiculous lore erasure, more rumours and events have begun to surface. First up, and probably the most damning if true, is the 4chan rumour that was covered by That Park Place. See a link to the article in the description. It basically infers that Amazon forced the change as they demanded females in power armour, and the Silent Sisters and Sisters of Battle were not good enough, as they were problematic. One doesn't speak, and the other is too religious or something. It's also been suggested that Henry Cavill, from this point referred to as Geeksbane, sorry Henry, I love you man, but you seem to be cursed or something, jumped the gun on his announcement, and that basically forced GW's hand. Consequently, the contract negotiations ended up not being favourable for GW. Another source via Archcast backs up that Amazon wanted female space marines, and GW refused, knowing it would end the company. They said damage or words to that effect, but I say it would end the company. They compromised with female custodies, but only after it's claimed Amazon threatened to allow third-party sellers of GW models and peripherals back on their platform, or even to walk away from the deal completely. GW then added the female custodies to the codex. This was in an attempt to head off the lore backlash before the series came out, as obviously if this appeared in the show out of the blue, it would have created a big backlash. I see the logic, but this was never going to be a popular change, and the execution was horrendous. To make matters worse, apparently GW's response on social media was not fully cleared, but they have stuck with the mistaken narrative, and the tweet stating the blatant lie that there has always been female custodies is now GW's most viewed tweet ever. The 4chan rumour and other sources also claim Cavill, aka Geeksbane, is not happy about any of this. Some interesting events also occurred in the lead-up, these being that the long-standing CFO, Rachel Tung, announced her resignation in January, and just recently liquidated 2/3 of her shares in the company. Pure coincidence, or an executive seeing storm clouds on the horizon? This raises many questions for me. For example, why are GW so desperate to work with Amazon, and why a TV series? Amazon's track record is patchy at best. Take away the Grand Tour and Clarkson's Farm, and can you honestly say they've produced anything of genuine quality? Please don't say Fallout in the comments. I know you love Bethesda and it's great to see a game world made real, but that show is not great. Don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not great. And if it's so good, why is no one talking about it right now? Anyway, I digress. Suffice to say, I wouldn't be queuing up to let Amazon add my IP to the list of Rings of Power, The Wheel of Time, and Westworld. These just being the three that jumped out at me immediately. On this point, Endymion's latest video suggests that Amazon might be trying to tank GW's stock deliberately so that they can buy it out for cheap, and that GW feel their IP could fill the void left by Star Wars and become a fully fledged mainstream IP. I don't know, I really don't see why an almost $2 trillion company would need to tank the stock of a $3 billion company in order to buy a majority stake. Equally, if they tanked it with female marines, etc., there'd be no IP left that's worth anything. I can kinda see why GW want to try and achieve the mainstream success of Star Wars, but I think at this point, this is where the business was already heading, or would be if it had stuck to what got it this far. Great lore, great IP, and great characters. You sacrifice all or any of this for a shot at the mainstream, you will just end up like all the other failed IPs that changed everything to suit new mass appeal audiences. In the gutter. Face it, 40k is not a family or child friendly IP. It's a brutal dystopian future where the failed promise of a golden age has resulted in an eternal and never ending fight for survival. Yeah, you can get kids into the hobby to model, paint and play, But unlike a Star Wars movie, which is safe for all ages, you put Ewoks into 40k, and these things are getting ripped apart, eaten, skinned, and worn as a cloak within about 3 seconds. The changes needed to make this for all audiences would murder the IP. Also, if there's no truth to the rumours, and Amazon are not involved, why not issue a statement and debunk it? If Geekspain, sorry Henry, did a press release saying, nah, it's all rubbish, everything's great, wouldn't that alleviate fans? But that would then ensure everyone blamed GW.
Heresy grows from idleness.
I must say I find it hard to believe that GW would let any company change their IP. I mean, this is a company that went after a lot of the YouTube animators, employed them, and then spat them back out just to stop them making content on YouTube. I mean, we all know Astartes is far better than any of the animated shows on Warhammer TV. Again, back to question 1. Why is a successful, very profitable, healthy company desperate to work with Amazon? The CFO had already resigned in January, leaving once a replacement is appointed, and while this doesn't mean she did see a potential storm on the horizon, from personal experience, this is exactly how high-level executives operate. I once worked for a company where the CEO left and liquidated most of his shares when he went. The official line was, "Everything's great, no problems." 6 months later, we started the first round of redundancies. The boardroom can see a lot of problems in the pipeline if/when they want to. Believe me. Considering all this, I think we can prophesize 2 scenarios here. Scenario 1. These are all just coincidences, and in fact, GW just made a bad retcon. Heck, they've made many bad decisions that rubbed fans up the wrong way in the past. The CFO has some new grandkids or something, and has had enough of the corporate world. She needs money for her retirement home and a holiday, so she sells most of her shares to go live the high life. And the insiders, 4chan rumours, are just made up BS. And Geekspain, and the team are just too busy with production to waste time bailing out GW from a bad decision. All possible.
Right.
Scenario 2. There is actually some truth to all these rumours, and a thread of causality binds them together. The CFO saw the storm and got out of Dodge. Equally, she might not want to take part in the destruction of a business she worked in for 27 years. Cavill is silent because he's contractually obliged to be, and since he won't lie to the fans, he's essentially silenced. At the same time, GW think that fans will just forget, and that getting this message out in the open will keep negative reactions to the series to a minimum. This strategy worked well for Bud Light. All in all, I think it's too early to tell. However, if I had to bet, given the world that we live in today, plus Amazon's track record of butchering beloved IP, Scenario 2 seems the more likely. Confidence at the moment is about 70-30 in favour of this outcome, and increasing with every day that both companies maintain silence, quietly change their online references, and continue to fuel media cover pieces. As pointed out by the Critical Drinker, Endymion, and many others, this is very likely the thin end of the wedge, and even if we believe that GW only created the female Custodes retcon as a compromise with Amazon, it's still a deal with the devil that will only ever hurt GW's bottom line. Amazon clearly do not care about wasting money on Prime Video. If this is in fact what's going on behind the scenes, then my advice to GW is to get out of the deal with Amazon. No deal is better than a bad deal. Go recruit the team that made Godzilla -1 and make a Warhammer movie. You don't need fucking Amazon and Jennifer Sulky. Please your hardcore fans and you will make a successful show. Make a generic show aimed at the fictional modern audience, and this is just the next Rings of Power in the making. Also, before I go, GW...
I'd like to share a revelation that I've had during my time here.
Maybe the reason your company share price has grown so successfully since around 2016 to 2017 has something to do with every other mainstream male-dominated sci-fi space being utterly destroyed for the message and the modern audience. And the fact that you guys maintained basically business as usual, I'll ignore the weird BLM statement you made. I don't know, maybe you hoovered up all the male and female Star Trek, Star Wars and Doctor Who fans. Fans who liked proper Star Trek, who liked the George Lucas approved extended universe, and who liked Doctor Who being, well, Doctor Who, not whatever Chris Chibnall turned it into. Just look at the graph. Another coincidence? Time will tell. Full disclosure, I still got the Custodes Codex and the Auric Champions box. But this is the first strike. My wallet is going on lockdown and I'm on high alert to see where this goes. I also cancelled my Warhammer Plus and Prime auto renewals. I think I'm done until I see where this company wants to go. I might do a video on why I'm cancelling all my streaming services in the future, and Prime increasing costs and pushing adverts pissed me off even before all this. So I took Mr. H's advice and filled in the survey saying I don't want to support Amazon Video, Jennifer Sulky, and the potential brand damage they are doing at the Games Workshop. I really hope GW turn things around and that this series is a success, but experience has taught me to expect the worst. As a side note, GW manufacture all of their minis in the UK and still have high street stores. Stores that are generally well run and welcoming to anyone who wants to get involved in Warhammer. So as a Brit, GW doing a Bud Light will be extra sad, as a lot of British jobs might be impacted. Let me know what you think about the rumours in the comments below. Oh, and I'd just like to end on a note of congratulations for Carl Benjamin being added into the Warhammer 40k universe. You really owned him, Mike Brooks. As always, f*** Erebus, f*** Warhammer, and while I'm at it, and just in case, f*** Amazon.
I hate this place. This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer. It's the smell.